so much. Okay. Hi, everyone. Ken, Luigi, Liliana Award, Lilian Award, and seven others. Thank you so much guys, for tuning in. Everyone else who's been getting myself organized, apologies. It's 4 minutes past 7 p.m. Tuesday, the 26th of September, 2023. What an honor and a privilege. We're grateful for the opportunity to do this again. Our live Tuesdays Ask Solo sessions where you get to call in or send voice notes that we will play live on speaker for everyone's edification, as well as sharing our answers should we have some, or advice, or just if nothing else, empathy on everything to do with land investments, property investments here in Kenya. My name is Solomon Wangwe, founder, managing director of Goshen Acquisitions Limited, as well as its wholly owned subsidiary, Grand Acres, the most transparent, the best, the number one land sellers in Kenya. Anyone tells you different, they have no idea what they are talking about, plain and simple. Doing this for 12 years, so we know one or two things about how to do it safely, made a few mistakes, learned from them. By and large, we've been blessed. We've never had painful losses, if you will. At least not the kinds that you hear about often. And the main reason for that is because we are sticklers for due process. We do not cut any corners. We don't take shortcuts. We don't bribe. We don't engage in corruption, which is akin to witchcraft. We do not practice witchcraft. And we've been able to do clean transactions for that entire period of time, something we're grateful for and happy to share with you how to do. So it's in that context that we invite you all to send in your questions, call, or make a voice note to the number 0700010001. Again, that's 0700010001. And we'll be happy to have a conversation with you for the benefit of everyone else who's joining this awesome community, growing community of ours at Grand Acres. So don't be shy. If you have a friend or family member that you like, love, and respect, share this link with them. Invite them to join, share their experiences, make comments, even criticize if they must or would like to. This is an open forum, no judgment. There is no such thing as a dumb question or a dumb comment. We're here to learn from each other and edify one another and inspire each other into growing our wealth through real estate, land ownership here in Kenya. So once again, thank you all for tuning in, and let's get this party started. As always, I'm here with my teammates. George Kagwe is somewhere in the back doing his DJ thing with various videos that will pop up, images and so on as we answer your questions if they become necessary. David is behind the one-eyed monsters I am talking into. And Gladys is sitting right next to me, even though she's off the frame. You'll hear her talk or say something from time to time. So don't be alarmed if I seem to be talking to unseen or unheard people. It takes team effort to get this done, and another thing we're grateful for. So let's go. If you have a question, comment, call in. So what we've noticed has happened over the last 4 sessions we've done this. Yeah, for some reason it takes everyone about half an hour before they start calling, and then we don't have enough time to answer everyone's questions. So guys, let's start early. It's 9 minutes past 7 p.m. We're gonna be doing this for the next 51 minutes up until 8 a.m. Because time is money and money buys land, so we don't muck around with time. Send in your questions by voice note or call. We'll have the conversation live on speaker so that everyone can hear your questions as well as my answers. And the number, once again, 07 001 0001. That's 07 001 0001. Karibuni. Ken Andika, thanks for tuning in. I see your question. Thank you for your question. But today we don't answer comments on the feeds. You have to call or send a voice note to the number I just shared. Okay, that's the format for Tuesdays. It's live calls, live questions and answers. You get to call in. We'll put you on speaker. Or you can send a voice note if you're too shy to do it live. For your written question, has to wait until Thursday. Okay? So if you can, call and ask a question. I'll be happy to answer. Bishiru Virgie, Nesmburu, Kingori Music, Odwar _Brian 7, Ken _Andika, I see you again, Richie Sachs _Alai, Muriungi Jr. Thank you guys for tuning in. Ken Gwiji, I see you. I hear a call. Do we have one?
Yes.
You should put the call on volume so we can actually hear the phone ringing.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Hey, good evening. Hello. Pole kaka, siongei hiyo lugha. Sijui ulikuwa unatafuta nani? Nafikiri umepiga wrong number, pole. All right, our first caller was the wrong number. We thank you for calling anyway. So I hope we can hear the next call. Rini?
Sure, let me put on the volume.
Awesome. Okay.
It's on volume now.
Was that a call?
No,
Okay.
it was message now.
Aminare Manji, I see you. Karanja Koni. Hey, Koni. Thanks for joining from wherever. Where is Koni? Kiambu. Somewhere in Kiambu.
Kiambu Road.
Kiambu Road. Thanks for joining, Connie. Connie is part of the team. That's why I'm teasing her. And she's at home. I hope she's at home. _Kina. I see you. Thank you for joining. If you have questions, guys, ladies, gents, please call 07 001 0001. Again, 07 001 0001. If you're feeling too shy to call live, send a voice note on WhatsApp. We'll play your question live and I'll answer live immediately. Okay? And if you have friends and family who you think would benefit from this session, please share the link quickly. It's now 13 minutes past 7. We have 47 minutes remaining. Time waits for no man, so let's not wait until 7:30 as usual.
All right. We have the first voice note.
It's awesome.
It's from Smith.
Smith, can you play it loud?
Good evening, guys. My name is Peter Dirango. I'm calling from Nakuru. And my question is, how does someone go about a lost title deed and how would I get it? Thank you.
Okay, Peter Diragu, congratulations for being our first caller today. Thank you. We appreciate you participating. From Nakuru, no less. Okay, so your question is how you've lost a title deed, how do you replace it, I guess is what you're asking. So there's a very specific process you have to follow. We did a video about this last year, I think it was, right? If you have the time, please go through Instagram and YouTube. You should be able to find it. It should be titled "How to Replace a Lost Title" or "Replace a Lost Title," something of the sort. But depending on the circumstances of your loss of the title, you will need to register with your closest police station and record a statement so that they can produce you a police abstract. For them to do that, they will require that you bring a photocopy of the lost title deed. Okay? Unfortunately, that's a requirement of theirs. If you don't have one, explain that to them and they'll direct you accordingly. But normally, they will insist that you at least have a copy. It is reasonable for them to expect that you would at least have a copy of your title, okay? You'll present your identification documents. You have to be the one who is registered on that title. If you're the one reporting it's a loss, they will confirm your details, record your statements, and produce a police abstract. Now, armed with your police abstract and copy of the title along with your particulars, you will go to your licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya. If you don't have one, find one quickly. Make sure they're licensed, as you said before. Just because they're an advocate does not necessarily mean that they are licensed to practice for the year 2023. They have to renew their license to practice on an annual basis. It's issued by the Law Society of Kenya. If you're wondering how to go about vetting them, download a copy of our free checklist, the 9 steps to safe land buying in Kenya, on our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Once you've identified the advocate, surrender the documents, which is copy of title, your ID, PIN certificate, and the police abstract. They will then proceed to tell you what they will charge you for that process. Agree with them first, okay? Don't start unless you've agreed, so there's no surprises to you about how much it's going to cost, and it's not unreasonable. It's a simple service. Most lawyers are reasonable about that. You will need their help to do this. Don't try and do it on your own. You'll be a lot more inefficient. You're likely to make mistakes that will cost you heavily on time. No need to reinvent the wheel. Get a licensed advocate to help you. Assuming you've done all that, they will proceed to place a gazette notice in the papers, which is a requirement that such and such a title deed has been lost and you're seeking to replace it. That has to be done for a set period of time. I don't recall exactly how many days, but you can find my past video and your advocate can also advise you. I believe it's 30 days if my memory serves me right. And after that period has elapsed, you will then, if it's a freehold title, agricultural I should say, title deed, you will require a land control board consent to replace the title deed. If it's not, you will need the consent from the land administrator, Ministry of Lands Administrator, typically at RD House, or if there's one at the local registry that is over your jurisdiction where the land is, you will obtain one from them. And then you will surrender everything to the Ministry of Lands Registrar, who will proceed to produce a new replacement title deed to your property. Of course, by that time, you'll have done searches and such, which your advocate will help you do, including obtaining a certified copy of the green card, because whether or not your title deed has been lost, the green card will be in place. And as I've said before, the green card is the most important document in property ownership in Kenya. The green card is what gives birth to a title deed. It pre-exists the title deed. So even when you lose your title deed, the green card will be under lock and key at the Ministry of Lands office. So a certified copy can be obtained to ensure that the property does actually exist and you are the duly registered owner of record at present, and as confirmed by the police abstract and a sworn affidavit which your lawyer will produce for you, plus a gazette notice they will go ahead and produce a replacement title deed. In exactly the same way you would replace your lost ID or lost driver's license or lost passport, title deed can be replaced because there's a much more important document in the custody of the governing authority that confirms that you are still the registered owner. Okay, I hope that helps as a guideline, but don't try to do it on your own. Find a licensed advocate to help you. Follow those steps, and you should be okay. And I wish you all the best replacing your lost title. Thank you. That was a great question.
We have a second question from Naomi.
Is that a voice note?
Yes,
Awesome.
Millennia, I think.
Naomi?
Hi, Solomon. Thank you for having this platform to just engage with us. So my question would be, I own land in Thika that is right opposite Bidco, but the land belongs to my dad and I would like to transfer. He actually wants to do the transfer, but he wants me to do it on my own. So I just wanted to know the process.
What's the end of the question?
Is that all Naomi said?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Naomi, for sending in your question. You are number 2 today. We're grateful for your participation. So just to restate, your dad owns land in Thika opposite Bidco, and he wants it transferred. I presume he wants it transferred to you, which is why he wants you to do it yourself. And kudos to your dad for having you do it yourself as opposed to doing it for you. But your ability to do so will be limited because it is the person on the title deed that has a legal responsibility to transfer the property to the transferee, even if the transferee is their successor or child or whatever. Okay, but I think he just wants you involved so that you understand the process. It's very simple. Now, you haven't told us whether or not the land is agricultural, whether it's freehold, whether it's leasehold. If you want to provide us more color on that, it might be helpful. But in general, the process goes something like this. And for context, you can also download a free copy of our Grand Acres checklist. Your free guide to safe land ownership in Kenya has 9 steps, 1 to 9, exactly the same process, except for you will not be needing to scout for the land or define your goal for buying the land. You're receiving the land from your dad. So if the land is freehold, first thing your dad will need to do is obtain a land control board consent, letter of consent, to transfer the property from himself to you. In order to do that, he will need to make an application to the land control board that has authority over your property's jurisdiction. If you don't know where that is, a licensed advocate, even a local one there in Thika, can help you. I find that local advocates are very helpful in sort of helping you cut through the mess of figuring things out because they know exactly where to go. Even if you might be using one from elsewhere, it's always good to have networks with local advocates. But they will tell you where the land board is situated. They will prepare the application form. There's a very specific format. You can't just write a letter. It's a form that you have to fill in the particulars for. Pay the fee. It's 1,000 shillings to book a land control board hearing. Do not do special board. I've said this before. It's a common practice that people do what is commonly referred to as a special board, which is a completely corrupt process. It's called special because you don't have to wait for the regular scheduled board sitting, which is the only way to do it. There is no such thing as a special board, to be blunt. It's a term coined by corrupt officials, lazy advocates, ignorant advocates even. Believe it or not, we've had fights with advocates who insisted that I could do a special board when even the Ministry of Lands has issued circulars and memos disavowing such an arrangement. Book for the date that's been scheduled. It will have been gazetted on the public notice boards for the entire year in advance up to December, or of the year. So you know in advance when they will meet for your location. Once you show up, your advocate will assist you put together the documents your dad will need to present himself with. Again, he is a registered owner of record, so he has to go to the board, not you. In some rare cases, the landlord will require the transferee to be present also, especially when they are not certain if the transferee is a local citizen or a foreigner. If they suspect that the transferee is a foreigner, they might want them present just to ask questions and that sort of thing. And it is their right to ask that. But by and large, the transferee is not required. The transferor is the one who has to present themselves because they are the ones who have to apply to transfer the property from themselves to the transferee. Your dad will need to bring his national identity card, a PIN certificate, the original copy of the title deed, okay, and the payment receipt for the landlord that he used to book for the landlord. I should also just point out real quick, most landlords will require that you book in advance. From my experience, most landlords will require that you do it at least 7 business days ahead of the scheduled hearing. Okay, because they need to prepare the schedule in time and the roster so that they'll call you in turns. If they do it the way it's supposed to be done, they'll prepare minutes during the meeting, and then they'll issue your consent. You'll collect the letter of consent, attach it to the title deed with your dad, along with his ID, PIN certificate. Now, because you are not buying the land, but rather receiving it as a gift from your dad, in essence, you will need some form of agreement between your dad and yourself stating so. Otherwise, the government valuers at the Ministry of Lands may insist on charging you a stamp duty as if you were buying the land. Okay, so your dad needs to explain that this is not a sale, it's a gift, it's an inheritance, it's whatever it is, okay? Then they will determine whether or not you should pay stamp duty or capital gains tax in that sense, especially for capital gains tax because your dad is not making a profit, he's transferring the property to you. Your advocate, again, will guide you in exactly what you need to provide the ministry officers. They'll surrender what is termed as completion documents, and the Ministry of Lands will proceed to register the transfer on the green card to the property, and then type a new title deed with your particulars as a newly registered owner of record. Okay, I hope that helps. But if you download our free copy of the Grand Acres checklist on our website, which again is www.grandacres.co.ke, it'll be a helpful guide. Ignore all the parts that don't apply, like scouting for land, having a goal, blah, blah, blah. Follow all the others. Don't take any shortcuts. Have a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya to assist you, because you have to prepare land control board application letters. You have to prepare transfer forms. These are prepared according to a very specific format. And especially when it comes to dealing with the registry directly, in terms of following up and submitting your documents for registration and following up to make sure the title transfer is actually happening, it's extremely helpful to have a licensed advocate help do it with you, okay? So don't try and do it on your own, especially if you've never had that experience. Have the licensed professional help you, and you should be good to go. If you have any questions along the way, we remain available. Okay, we remain available to clarify. Just reach out to us on WhatsApp, same number that you sent your voice note, and we'll be happy to clarify. Thank you, Naomi. I hope that helps, and all the best to you and your dad. And may it be the first of many, many more.
Okay. So there's a question from Jitesh, but he says it's not complete, so he's sharing.
Okay. Oh, Jitesh from last week.
I think so.
Awesome.
As a new conversation, but I think it's the same person.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. Anyone else?
No.
All right, so we've had 2 voice notes so far, which is awesome. It's 7:29 p.m., which means we have 31 minutes remaining. Take advantage of the time we have, guys. Send in your questions. If you have a question, a comment, maybe you saw something in the news about properties recently that you're concerned about, happy about, angry about, annoyed about, whatever, share those as well, because believe it or not, we also get to learn when we have these conversations. There's always something fresh happening, and we can address those. Also, I know I've said it already, but if you know someone you like, love, and respect who would benefit from this conversation, send them the link. Let them know there's only 30 minutes remaining, and let's have a good time.
All right. So the question from Jitesh is here.
Awesome. 20.
Good evening, Mr. Solomon. I'm calling you from Meru. My name is Jitesh. I would wish to know, when buying land, what is the significance of spousal consent? Are there instances where you don't require spousal consent? Like, for example, when the court has ordered giving a grant or etc. Thank you.
Okay, hi Jitesh, thank you again for your question. Happy to hear your voice this week again. So as far as spousal consents are concerned, their significance is weighty. It's consequential. You can't avoid it, particularly if land is being transferred or charged, or any transaction that has to do with land that's owned by an individual as opposed to a company. Requirements are different for companies or corporate entities, okay, because they have their own set of governance separate from an individual. But if land is moving from an individual to anyone else, whether individual or corporate, you have to get a spousal consent. That is a requirement as per the Constitution since 2010. They have to swear an affidavit that they are indeed your spouse at the moment. If there's more than one spouse, all the spouses need to do the same thing. Okay? And it's helpful to attach photocopies of your marriage certificate or marriage certificates if there's multiple spouses, because polygamy is practiced in Kenya. It's a norm in certain communities and societies, sections of Kenyan society. So if there's multiple spouses, they all have to sign or swear affidavits that they are your spouse. They are aware that this property is being transacted on and that they do not object to its transaction, and so on and so forth. A licensed advocate of Kenya will need to prepare that sworn affidavit. They know how to do it. They know what language to use. Don't try and do it on your own, obviously. Have them prepare that for you. Otherwise, the transfer will not be effected by the Ministry of Lands Registrar. It's one of the documents required for surrender to the registrar in order for them to effect the transfer. Okay, so it's very significant. Without it, you will have contravened due process, which technically, since beginning of this year, as adopted by a ruling by the Supreme Court of Kenya, any transaction in Kenya that is proven to have circumvented or contravened the due process, meaning the outline process one must follow, that transaction is deemed null and void automatically. No questions asked. So you don't want to risk a situation where the transfer is voided later, the title deed is cancelled. Do it right. And I know a lot of people would try and avoid this, particularly when you have disagreements in the family about what ought to happen in that transaction. There is no way around it. In fact, it's the reason the spousal consent was made a requirement, was to ensure familial consensus. The background to that is, in some communities, a lot of family-owned property was being transferred, sold off, whatever the case may be, without the knowledge of spouses or children. And they would find out much later when they were already disenfranchised. And that's one of the main reasons spousal consent has been made a requirement. So, long answer to your question, Jitesh, it's very consequential. There is no avoiding it if you're transferring land from an individual to an individual, or from an individual to a body corporate, company, limited liability, partnership, circle, whatever. If it's moving from an individual, spousal consent is a requirement. I hope that answers your question, Jitesh, and thank you for asking. If we can clarify anything else, let us know. We still have 25 minutes on the call, and we can make that crystal clear for you.
Someone called.
Yeah. Hope it's not the wrong number. There we go.
The mobile you're calling is not responding. Airtel, Jumbo, Petronas,
Okay, we just attempted to return someone's call because I was busy yapping when they called. If that was you, please feel free to call back and we'll be happy to engage you. If you have any more voice notes, guys, you want to send them through. That seems to be the preferred mode of engagement today, which is great. Send those in. We still have about 24 minutes now, and we will have accomplished our goal for today.
So we go to the next voice note. We have two actually.
Awesome. Let's go.
So the next one is from Jefferson.
Good evening. I have a question, and it is
It's only
good
7
evening. I have a question, and it is
Okay, she cut off. Did she send? Is it the same one on the second?
Okay, please send the second one.
Good evening. My name is Jefferson Alela, and I have been following your program. So today I have a question that is about conversion. I understand that in 2012 we had a change of the regime of laws with regards to conveyancing, and we are now required to convert titles that were registered under the previous regime. So I would like you to take me through the conversion process. And I also understand that it has not been rolled out in other areas. I believe in Nairobi, the process is ongoing, and I believe it is fast being carried out. So I need to inform me whether there are any repercussions for anyone outside Nairobi whose title has not been converted, and are titles still being registered under the previous regime as at now, because I understand that in Nairobi is where the rollout for the conversion process is undergoing. So when someone conducts a transaction on land in other areas, is this still being recorded under the repealed laws? Yeah, so thank you so much for that.
Awesome. Jefferson Alela, thank you for sending in your voice note. That's a really good question on the title conversion process, which is mandated since enactment in 2012. which is a consequence of the 2010 Constitution, which basically sought to unify all title deed regimes from pre-independence to now under one new regime, format of reference, and that sort of thing. Hence the need for conversion. Exactly the same way they did with national ID cards, new generation passports. Same thing is happening now with license plates. It's normal periodically we go through conversions or upgrading of registration systems and formats and regimes. That's exactly what's happened with the title deeds, as Jefferson has aptly described. So it's absolutely true that currently only Nairobi is undergoing the title conversion process. The law requires that the authority, which is the Ministry of Lands, gazettes by zones the list of title deeds that are up for conversion. That schedule is determined solely by the Ministry of Lands because they are the managers and custodians of the Registry of Records. As you can imagine, doing this for historical documentation as far back as the 1920s is a gargantuan task. It's not peanuts. It takes a lot, and for that reason, I appreciate why it might take longer than people might prefer, and this is why the Ministry of Lands is doing it by zones. And as required by the law, they will advertise mostly on the Daily Nation and the Standard. I think they're required to do so on two major dailies. And they will also post those on their platform, Ardhi Sasa, which is a Ministry of Lands platform for all land engagements. And that process is also clearly stipulated for you there, Jefferson. If you're curious, go to Ardhi Sasa platform and find the resource for title conversion and what the process entails. So once you've gazetted the list of titles, you will find your list. Obviously, you have an obligation from time to time to look at the Gazette notices, usually on Thursdays. Commonly, I find them to be gazetted on Thursdays. I don't know why Thursdays are the most common day, but they will gazette. If your title number or land reference number is listed there, you know that you're now up for conversion of the title deed. You will present a fully filled in application form that you will download from Ardhi Sasa. That's the first requirement. Fill in the application form. Present yourself to the Ministry of Lands and Registry that's over your area or zone, as will be advised by the Gazette notice. Present your original copy of title deed along with your application form. Okay, so form duly filled. Number 2, original copy of your title. Number 3, your national ID card, your PIN certificate, and they will then proceed to confirm with your registry index map that your property actually does exist and is updated on the RIM. Those are the 5 things you require. I'll repeat those again. Filled in application form, original copy of the title deed, your national ID card, your PIN certificate, and your ID card and PIN certificate need to match the name that's on your title deed. Okay? And an updated copy of the registry index map, clearly illustrating your property on the map, which is why I use the word updated, because a lot of people never bother to have the registry index maps updated to show that their property exists on the ground within the boundaries of Kenya on that cadastral map. It is a final mapping authority, particularly for properties that are under general boundaries regime of survey. For those that are under fixed survey, you would have deed plans and deed maps that you will need to produce. If in doubt, visit the Ministry of Lands office and ask for guidance, depending on what sort of title you have. Even a licensed advocate can guide you on that, a competent one. find the ones that deal with conveyancing law, which means property laws. But that is a process required. I don't believe the government is charging any fees for this process. You simply have to wait for your zone to be gazetted, present those 5 documents, and they will get on with the process of converting your title, which means they will take yours, deface it, or do whatever it is they do on the back end and produce a new generation title for you. And even that new generation title number will be included in your gazette notice. They will gazette your current LR number and its new, new one that you can expect on a new generation title. Okay, so it's not very complicated. There's a lot of legalese around it, particularly if you want to study the history, the different title registration regimes and so on, like you mentioned, but the process in and of itself is quite simple, as it should be, because not everyone in the general public can understand all that stuff. All they need to know is, how do I get my new generation title, right? They're completely outlined on AdviSASA's platform. It's not a secret, and you should be good to go. So for those areas where they haven't zoned yet, there's no need to worry, just wait. Yes, currently, for zones where they're not issuing the new generation titles, they are still registering titles under the previous regime, okay? And that is fine. They are the governing authority with the mandates to produce those documents, so no concern there. For zones where they've already gazetted, I am pretty sure that for all transactions going forward, they are being issued under the new regime. And this process is probably going to take years. If your area is zoned, find out quickly, do it within the time frame, because otherwise you run the risk of not being able to transact on that property if you procrastinate, if you don't have your property duly updated on the registry index map. What they will do is they'll put your file aside, confer with the survey department, do an historical check backwards to make sure that they can trace the origins of your property. If the RIM has not been updated, who knows how long that is going to take, right? It's being done by human beings manually, who have to scour physical documents in rooms all over the place. It's a mess, in short. So you want to be proactive about this, because while they are converting your title before it's actually released, you're not able to charge your property. You can't sell the property. You can't borrow against it. You can't subdivide it. You can't gift it to anyone. So you're basically stuck until your new generation title is out. Now, for those who have titles that are already surrendered to lenders like banks because you borrowed against it, that is no challenge whatsoever. The lenders are required by law to facilitate your conversion, which means they will release a title under controlled circumstances to the Ministry of Lands to facilitate the conversion. The conversion does not do away with any charges or liens that are pre-existing, but the lender is not permitted to withhold your title deed. If your zone has been gazetted for conversion, they must facilitate that. If in doubt, seek advice from a licensed advocate or the local registry that's relevant to your location, and you should be able to proceed. I hope that helps, Jefferson, and I wish you all success with your title conversion in case yours is up for conversion.
Okay, so we have 2 calls coming.
Do we have any other voice notes?
Yeah, we have 3.
What time is it? It's okay, let's do one call at least. It's 7:48, we have 12 minutes remaining. You call the first one?
Sure.
I'm talking to Gladys, by the way. She's to my right, if you can't see her. Hello. Hello, this is Solomon of Granby Acres and Goshen Acquisitions. How may I help you? I'm returning your missed call.
Yes. There's something that you had just talked about regarding spousal approval.
Spousal consent. Yes.
Yes, spousal consent. currently handling,
Uh-huh.
whereby so the people got land for a certain sale,
Mhm.
and of course the agreement was between two people, and then said they didn't get to actually get the spouse consent.
Okay.
And apparently the passed away some years back, like 2 years about 2 years back.
Okay.
So they have been currently in the process of actually transferring the details from now the to the owners of the properties.
Okay.
And now the person who was to facilitate now that was the spouse. So the spouse, they are together with the owners, they have been attending these meetings at the DO, and also they have been having minutes and what have you. But recently, the spouse, they've got a change of heart, one might say, whereby since the values of the land increased, let's say they increased in pricing,
Yeah.
she said that since she she didn't give the consent back then, that the agreement is null. How do we get around such a situation?
All right. And what's your name, sir?
My name is Brian.
Brian, are you an advocate? You sound like an advocate.
No, I'm not an advocate.
Yeah.
I'm just someone who is now in that situation.
Yeah, so you've learned a lot. I can tell from your description.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for calling, Brian, and asking that. So yes, unfortunately, if the deceased mzee never acquired his spouse's consent and sworn affidavit to that effect, that is a breach of due process, which means the transaction is null and void. And obviously, she knows this now.
Yeah.
And the strong motivation to enforce that consequence, particularly because of the passage of time, the property is now worth a lot more than it was back then. Yeah, so I think my advice to you guys, because either way, you can't proceed without the spousal consent. You just need to do whatever it takes to convince the surviving spouse to facilitate the transaction. I presume that monies were paid and all that. Is there a sale agreement to that effect?
There is.
Okay. Well, those are good just to document the agreement so that it's not hearsay. But at the end of the day, strictly speaking, Brian, you guys are at the mercy of this spouse. So it's important that you get her in your corner. You may have to top up your purchase price because, strictly speaking, if you ended up in court, your transaction would have been deemed to be null and void. So you would need to start from scratch anyway. Yeah. Now, in the case, I don't know if the family has completed their succession processes since Mzee died. Who is the power of attorney? Was a trustee appointed by the court and all that? Do you have any details around that? It will be very important that you find out because the title deed is still in Mzee's name, right? In the instance that the registered owner of record is deceased, you need letters of administration issued by a court. And there's a very specific process that has to be followed, which involves the family members, including spouses and any members of the family who would be deemed to be beneficiaries by default. So that your transaction going forward is properly sanctioned by everyone who has an interest, a bona fide beneficial interest. Yeah, so I think it's important that you persuade Mama to do the honorable thing and honor the transaction, even if you might have to maybe up your purchase price a little bit for the sake of completing this transaction. But even so, I hope you have an advocate who's advising you guys. yes, your advocate should be able to follow up on the issues of succession, who has been appointed as the administrator, or was there a will in place that is being honored, who has power of attorney, and that sort of thing. Because then otherwise, even if you agree with Mama, you may not be able to complete the transaction according to due process. So I hope your advocate can look into that, get all your documents in order, get Mama on your side. Unfortunately, she has you guys by the balls. I'll just be blunt, man. Yeah, she knows her rights, and she's going to exploit it to get the best benefit for herself and her family. You have to keep in mind, if Mzee was doing this transaction without her knowledge, and she found out after the fact, there's a lot of emotions involved. And if she's a mother, she has children or grandchildren, she's going to be looking out for the family's best interests. So try view things from her end, get her on your side or get on her side, and together with your advocate, get all the documents in order that you need to get this thing done right, especially because the owner of record is deceased and is not alive to sign documents and that sort of thing. And hopefully you can complete the transaction in a way that's acceptable to both yourselves and also fair to Mama and the family. Yeah, and I wish you all success, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
You're most welcome.
Okay.
Cheers. All right, that was a great question from Brian. Thanks again, Brian, for sharing that. I'm sure it's helped others who might be in a similar situation. Due process, very important, guys. There's precedents now from Supreme Court that makes it very easy for transactions to be voided, null and void, immediately. There's no case. The moment it's proven that something in the due process has been skipped or done procedurally, that transaction is null and void. And given that this decision was issued by the Supreme Court in a live case this year, there is no case to be had in lower courts. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. Okay, so just do things right, even if it means dealing with difficult situations and having difficult conversations with the other party. Yeah. Shall we do one more?
Sure. So I have a voice note that came in before the second call.
Okay, let's do that one.
Hi all, my name is Gavin. First off, I'm so happy to be in this space, and I've been following you guys, and I love what solo you're doing. It's pretty amazing, a lot of information. So I'm a youngster. I'm looking to make sales out of land business, selling houses and stuff, but I have no idea. I have no idea where to start. I have no idea how to begin. I don't know how to talk to how do I get this community going. So I'd love to know, how do I start? Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much. And also for the licensing, I think you have to get a license to be an agent or to be a broker. How much does it cost to be a broker? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin, for that voice note. Really appreciate your participation. And congratulations to you. I don't know how old a youngster is. I am surrounded by youngsters right now. Relatively speaking to my age. But you want to make sales of properties, land and buildings and that sort of thing. You want to be an agent or a broker, which I think is a noble thing. So how do you start? Yes, you're absolutely right. Today in Kenya, in order for you to be a broker or agent, even if you're not part of the big brands that are known like Knight Frank, Tyson's, Lloyd Masika, Palm Golding, blah, blah, blah. If you're going to do it independently, you have to be registered as a real estate agent. This is being done by an entity created under the Ministry of Lands. It's a regulated body. All you have to do is go to Ardhi Sasa. I'm sure you'll find information there, or visit Ministry of Lands office. They'll direct you. There's a small fee to pay. I'm not sure exactly what the amount is, to be honest. I haven't had a reason to interact with that body because we are not agents or brokers. We are owners. We have an ownership stake in everything we sell. Therefore, we cannot be deemed to be agents. And so we haven't bothered. We are registered as land traders and investors through Goshen Acquisitions Limited and Grand Acres Limited. But in your case, even if you're going to register a company and you're going to be involved in transactions where you do not have an ownership stake, meaning you're facilitating a transaction between a seller and a buyer, you will be deemed by the government of Kenya to be an agent or a broker. And this is the first regulatory body created by our government to sort of bring a sense of order into the industry, which is full of issues, as you know. So find out, pay the fee. I think there's an orientation sort of process to go through, get licensed, information they will share, best practice, and that sort of thing. Once you've done that, I think then you're good to go. If you're serious about this, you have to become very knowledgeable about what you want to engage in, whether it's built properties, is it residential properties you want to focus on, is it commercial spaces you want to focus on, or retail spaces, for instance, is it industrial spaces you want to focus on. You have to decide what area you want to be an expert in, and network. Put yourself out there, have conversations, ask questions, read material. A great resource I find for myself particularly is the Has Consult Property Index that they release on a quarterly basis. Great information there about what's happening in the zones that they focus on, Nairobi and the main major cities. Having conversations with people like ourselves who are on the ground in rural parts of Kenya could also be very beneficial to you. You'll get tactile information about pricing, sizes, what customers are looking for, and that sort of thing. Real estate expos, great way to network and get information. And then do the best that you can to be excellent at what you do. Communicate well, present yourself well, have a website, have an easy way for people to get in touch with you, and tell everyone you can what you do. Okay? In this world, you only receive what you ask for. Ask. What's the worst they'll say? No? Right. Move on to the next one. Keep asking. You'll find exactly what you're looking for, and I think you'll have success. The other thing I might advise you to do, Kevin, in terms of building a community, is create content, just like we are right now. We're answering questions, we're engaging our community of investors, people interested in investing in real estate, buyers, sellers, the regular Joe down the street who is dealing with something in the family context. Provide value to the community in general, which is why you have to get very knowledgeable, consume as much information as you can, be competent, and then harness social media. I think any business today that does not have a social media presence and is not creating content has already lost. The future demands that it's a basic, and it's morphing almost on a weekly basis. So you have to be very proactive and quick. I mean, I have Gladys sitting here. She's part of the digital team. Everyone assisting me with this live today is in the digital team, and I can't do what they do. It's why they're part of my team. We complete each other. Any business that's serious about succeeding in the world today must have a digital department. And if you can't afford to hire people, you also need to become an expert at that. Learn how to shoot videos on your phone, scout for properties, put them out there. WhatsApp groups are great. Your Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, be everywhere, okay? And you'll find very quickly that momentum will start to build, and you will find your path very quickly, and then just dig deep. Be the best at it. If there's anything else we can help you with as far as that journey is concerned, happy to help, man. Give us a call, come pay us a visit. Happy to share our experiences. If there's any resources we can provide you as well, happy to do so. We want to see as many people as possible succeed in our industry. So feel free to give us a visit if you need to. If you're too far, give me a call. The number is 07-001-0001. It's the same one you sent the voice note to. You can also share your number. Let us know what time is good to call and we can have a conversation. But other than that, all success to you, Kevin. We wish you the very best. I'm excited for you. All right. It's now 5 minutes past 8 p.m. Like I said before, because we respect time, we're going to end it there. For those of you who sent voice notes and we haven't answered your call, I will make an effort to reach out to you guys tomorrow during the day, or if you have a specific time that is most convenient for you, let me know. I'll respond. Something we did a couple of weeks ago is I responded on camera. I played your voice notes just like we have now, and we posted those on our social media. We're happy to do that again for your benefit as well as everyone else who's tuned in today. And I look forward to having these edifying and productive conversations next week on Tuesday. On Thursday this week, we'll continue with another format where you send in your comments and questions, and I get to answer those live for 1 hour from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. as we do every Thursday. Thank you so much to you all for making this a worthwhile hour this evening. I wish you guys all success and see you all next time.
Pretty boy Rasta live and direct. Shout out to all the loyal Wakurugenzi. With me is none other than the land connoisseur himself, Manati Bila Grady, Teddy wa Mashake. Shamba ya Karen unaiangalia kwa nini? Una window shop pizza na pesa ya madondo? Surely. Surely, surely, surely.
Let it stop black. 43 top.